4. Creating qualified lead lists. At this point in the sales process, you should have generated lists of leads from different sources. These should all be prospects that at first glance look promising to you. You absolutely must keep track of the lead source for each of these prospects. Did you find them because they're doing business with a competitor? Did they pop up in a Google search? Did someone tell you about a new company that just got startup funding but hasn't launched yet? Don't lose this information. It will keep you on course and prevent the number of leads that originate in the outer circles of our chart, for example, Google searches, from getting out of control. Remember, you want to have a good mix of leads, and lead source is an important part of determining lead quality. Your manager as your ally. Before you start evaluating and researching every one of your leads, you should show your initial lead list to your manager. Unless they are newly hired, your manager should be in an ideal position to review your suggestions with you. And without your spending time doing further research on them, eliminate the ones that you shouldn't contact for whatever reason. Don't underestimate how much time this extra step will save you. I mentioned earlier that prospecting is one of the most strategic activities in the entire sales process. You want to have your manager as your partner here. They will know whether a prospect has a terrible payment history in the market, has already been called on by someone else on your team, or is a buyer whose spouse works with your main competitor. Good managers also consider finding leads part of their job, and they assign these leads to their salespeople. However, don't assume that every lead from your manager is automatically a great prospect. Always ask where the lead came from. You still have to research and determine if that particular prospect is worth your time. And if you determine you don't want to focus on a particular lead from management, don't be afraid to speak up and let your manager know. Only after you review your initial list with your manager do you check your CRM system to find out which of the prospects you found are available to be called on, which ones are already actively being pursued by a teammate, and which ones are already a client. A word of caution here. Instead of just giving up on a lead that has met with or even been pitched to by someone on your team, challenge your manager to find out how much activity there really has been with a prospect. Maybe the last proposal the prospect saw was a while ago. Maybe the buyer has been called on for years, but it never resulted in a sale. Maybe it's time for a change. Narrowing down your lead list. By now, you've started to reduce your extensive lead list to your best prospects, the ones with whom you will actually try to connect. In sticking with our gold nugget prospecting analogy, we are separating gold from black sand. We will do that by running each lead through several filters. Is your product or service right for the prospect's business and its customers? We want to focus on prospects that are a perfect fit for the solutions we offer. For example, a furniture manufacturer specializing in high-end bedroom furniture should target a high-end furniture retail store whose customers are wealthy homeowners, instead of trying to sell to a budget furniture outlet. A radio station whose audience is young and skews female might identify a car brand targeting female millennials as a potential advertiser. Companies like Nielsen offer indexes for thousands of different items that allow you to determine how close of an audience match there is. In our example, we could have easily determined that both the radio station's audience and the car brand's buyers are high indexing with young women. Station and car brand would therefore be a good match for each other. A company's social media channels, advertising creative, and even financial statements can give you a good idea about its positioning and core customers. Also, the About the Company section of a prospect's website can provide you with valuable information. Do you have access to key decision makers? In many industries, encountering some type of middle party is very common. Think about consultants who manage the selection of advertising agencies for larger companies, or media agencies that handle the media buying of marketers. In an ideal scenario, the prospects you're researching operate without such middle parties, which results in decision makers meeting with their partners and vendors directly. Or consider this from a geographic perspective. If you're working in an industry that involves selling complex solutions that take several in-person meetings to develop, present, and sell, you would have easier and more access if the decision maker were based in your area. However, don't get stuck on the notion that there is only one key decision maker. Several studies conducted in the last decade have confirmed an increase in consensus requirement within medium-sized and larger companies. Even very senior decision makers are less and less likely to go out on a limb for a supplier on a big purchase decision, at least not on their own. But there's still a lot to be said for the old sales adage of start at the top and work your way down. There are many other levels that can offer you entry points into a qualified prospect. Often, the only way to get in the door with a key buyer is by first laying the groundwork with other stakeholders within the company. These can be lower-level influencers who are reporting to the senior executive level, whose trust needs to be earned first. When it's time to make a big purchasing choice, decision makers want to ensure they have the backing, support, and buy-in from their team. Will the prospect be able to adequately fund a potential solution by your company? In many industries, it is possible to determine how much a prospect is currently spending on services similar to the ones you're offering. A company like Kantar, for example, allows you to access spending data for different kinds of media, outdoor, TV, radio, print, etc., to determine the budget sizes of prospects. Size of the company, of course, plays a big role here. Many services and databases provide revenue estimates for companies. Take advantage of them. But margins and price points are important as well. For example, if you're a healthcare marketing agency that specializes in increasing the number of patients for doctors' offices, you will find that it is easier to see a return on marketing investment for offices that are fully focused on elective procedures with high price points, like plastic surgery or LASIK eye surgery. That's because the number of new patients your marketing campaign needs to deliver for a higher priced procedure will be less. It will be much harder for most primary care physicians whose campaigns need to attract many patients to achieve a similar return on investment. Knowledge is power. As you research your prospects, make sure you're saving and keeping the information you uncover for each of the prospects that make your final lead list. In the next section, Connect, we will be covering relevant business reasons, RBRs, with which we will approach prospects by phone, email, and other channels. To come up with the most effective RBRs, we'll need to access the most important intelligence you uncovered during the prospecting phase. Prospecting is the best prep work to ensure you say the right things to a prospect once you start a dialogue with them. Today, most companies require their salespeople to enter their leads into their CRM system to make them easily trackable. Beyond that, you need to develop a system to capture the information you uncover during your prospecting work, especially what you deem necessary for later use. This includes articles you found about the company, spending reports, and potentially even organizational charts, financial statements, and marketing creative. 5. Developing your prospecting system. You started with a longer list of leads